So a few weeks ago, several of my clients' websites actually got hacked, and to be honest, this actually drove me crazy because I kept changing the passwords, and one way or the other, the hackers kept getting in. They defaced these websites completely, added some deceptive links to the website, and they even completely logged me out of the website. Days later, I found out that this breach was actually not from the website, but actually a malware that was on my laptop that was secretly grabbing all the passwords I had saved on my Chrome browser. Which means if you know you're still saving your login in your Chrome browser, you're actually playing with a ticking time bomb. And that's why in this video, I'm going to show you guys how to safely secure your WordPress website so that you will not end up in a situation like me. And we're going to be using the plugin called the Solid Security plugin. I'm going to show you features like activating the two-factor authentication, changing your login URL, and changing it from the default WP/admin to a customized URL of your own, so that it will be more difficult for hackers to get to the back end of your website. We also check other features like the brute force feature and so many other features in this video. So let's get into it. Alright, so let's get started by heading to the back end of our WordPress website, and when you are there, let's go to plugins. You want to click on plugins, and we're going to search for this plugin. First, come right here and click on add plugins. So right here we're going to search for the plugin, and the name is Solid Security. So I'm just going to type that right here, and the first result here is the plugin Solid Security password two-factor authenticator and brute force protection. So let's go ahead and get this plugin installed. And now that it is installed, you want to click on activate. Alright, so the plugin has now been activated. Now let's go ahead and set up some settings to make sure that our WordPress website is secured. Alright, so now you want to scroll down and you are going to see this in the back end of your website now after the installation security, and now you want to click on setup. Alright, so let's click on setup. Going to click on skip. Okay, so now right here we're going to choose the kind of website we have. So if you have an e-commerce website, if you have a network website, non-profits, you choose whatever websites you have. So choosing this type of website, choosing the type of website you're using will actually allow Solid Security determine some settings for your security. In my case, I'm going to choose the brochure website. And here it says scan site. No, let's skip this for now. We're not scanning it yet. We're going to do that at the end. So I'm going to click on skip. And right here we have the brute force protection. So we want to make sure that this local brute force is turned on, and also let us turn on the network brute force protection and click on continue. Again, click on continue. And here it says allow two-factor authentication. Yes, we want that. So we're going to leave it ticked and click on continue. And now it says, is it your own website or your client's website? In my case, it is my own website. If it is your client website, go ahead and click client website. But most of the time, let's go ahead and choose my own website. And here it says enable security check pro. Now let us enable this and click on next. All right, so now we are here and we want to set up some settings to make sure that our website is secured. Now it says authorize IP. Now this basically is going to allow the authorization of your IP address. So it's going to whitelist your IP address, and when it sees another IP trying to log into your website, it blacklists them and does not allow them to log into your website. So I'm going to select authorize my IP address, and this automatically whitelists your IP. And for the IP detection, we're going to leave it at security check scan. And let's click on check IP. So this will check your IP and make sure that it is authorized. And this is fine. So let's click on next. All right. So now we are here and we are done with the first settings. Now let's head over to the settings page. So we want to click on settings. Yeah, and over here we're going to set up a couple of things to make sure that our website is secured. So minutes of lockout. So how many minutes do you want people to be locked out? People that are trying to access your website with the wrong password. 15 minutes. Let's increase this to 20 minutes. And days recommended. So how many days do you want these people to be locked out of your websites? I mean, when people are trying to guess your password on different occasions, you want to make sure that they are locked out for a long period of time. So I'm going to change this to 14 days. And right here, the number of lockouts. So when a user is logged out 3 times, they are automatically banned. All right, so that is what this means. I'm just going to leave it at 3, and I'm fine with that. So we're going to scroll down, and here, authorize IP. We had already done this, so we're just going to leave this as it is. And for login, if you are not a developer, you want to change this to file only, and let's leave it as it is. And I'm going to scroll down. We already set this up to security check scan. I'm going to leave it as it is. Hide security menu in admin bar. So if I tick this, it's going to hide this notification here, but we don't want to tick that because this will basically show us if there's an issue with our websites, if there's a security breach. This is where you get all the notifications right here. So we're just going to leave this as it is, and I'm going to click on save. All right, so now the setting is saved. Let's move over to the next settings, which is features. And over here, we want to make sure that the two-factor authentication is enabled. We're still going to set it up later on in this video, but just make sure that this is enabled, and you can click on this drop down, and here you can set up all the methods you want for your two-factor authentication. We're just going to leave it as all methods and leave the other settings as they are. I'm fine with it. And let's head over to firewall. And here it says ban users. So this is going to ban some specific users or with specific IP addresses. So in case you have IP addresses that you want to ban automatically, you can include them here. And you can also select the default ban list from hackerpeer.com. So let's leave it like so. Tick default ban list and let's move on. And firewall rule engine, we're going to leave this ticked, and I think we have all this set up. They are just fine as they are. So just click on save. And now let's move on to site check. Now for the file change, if you're not a developer, you want to leave this unticked. So we don't necessarily have to keep this on. So let's turn it off. Except of course you know what you're doing, you can turn this on. But for now, we're gonna leave it off. And for scheduled site scan, if you want solid security to always scan your website periodically, you can leave this tick on. In my case, I'm going to leave it on and select the medium and high priority. All right, so this is fine, and let's move on. So let's move on to utilities, and we want to make sure that the enforce SSL is ticked. Now, this does not give you SSL certificates. In most cases, your registrar will give you an SSL certificate by default, but you want to make sure that every login to your website is enforced with SSL. So that is why we have to turn this on. And then we have database backups. So I'm going to click here. And what this means is if you want your website to be backed up on occasionally, if you want your website to be backed up occasionally, I mean. So right there we have email only. And if you want it to be saved locally, you can also select that. So email only means that the backup is going to be sent to your email. And if you want it to be saved on your file manager, you can select locally. So I'm going to select save locally. And this is the folder where the backup is going to be saved. All right. So how many backups do you want to be retained momentarily? I can say 6 backups. So what this means is that after 6 backups, the previous backups are going to be deleted automatically, and you're always going to have 6 backups on your file manager. So I think this settings is fine, and make sure that the security check through is also ticked right here. And then let's click on save. And now we have the settings saved. All right, so let's move on to user groups. And right here, you can set up some settings for the users on your website. Now, this settings is for the administrators, and by default, we have these settings already in place. So, two-factor, you don't want an administrator to skip the two-factor onboarding, just in case your website might be hacked and the hacker has an administrator role, they would still have to go through the two-factor authentication. So you don't want to leave this ticked. So these other settings are fine. And if I go to the editors, I don't want the editors to be able to manage solid security. So you want to make sure this is unticked, and they would require a strong password and refuse compromise password. Also, you don't want them to skip. If you don't want them to skip the two-factor onboarding, you can also leave this on ticked. But in some cases, you might just allow them to skip the two-factor onboarding, because sometimes if it's especially if it's an e-commerce website, you don't want your customers to always have to go through the two-factor authentication to purchase or register themselves on your e-commerce website, because that could basically bug them. So depending on the kind of website you have, you can always allow skip two-factor onboarding for subscribers, contributors, and other people. But for the administrator, we're going to make sure that they cannot skip the two-factor onboarding. All right, so I think this is fine, and let's move on to notifications right here. All right, so here you want to provide the emails that you want to be notified on your about your security. So Sorry Security will send notification to these email addresses. So in case there is any malware on your website or any issue with your website, they are basically going to send you notifications to this email. So you can put in your email address right here, or just select and also select the user you want notification for. So I'm going to select myself right here, and I think that is fine. And here we have the security digest. So security digest means all the informations about security as it regards security. So Solid Security will always send in daily digest about what is going on in their security world, or so as the case may be. If you want to be updated about all these things, you can as well enable it. But if you feel this is going to bug you, feel free to disable it. In my case, I'm just going to make it weekly because I don't want too many emails in my inbox. So click on Save Changes and go to Site Lockouts. And if you want to be notified about a site lockout, you can enable this. So we're going to leave it enabled because we want to know if someone is trying to access our website. And here we have the database backup. So here is where, in case you choose email for your database backup, this is where your backup is going to be sent into. In our case, we choose the local method, so we don't have any issue with this. And then next, let's go to site security scan results. If you want the security scan results to be emailed to you, you can as well enable this and click on save changes. And by doing this, when your website is scanned, the results are going to be sent to your mailbox. And here we have the two-factor email. So here you can edit the two-factor authentication email. I think this is fine. We don't have to do anything here. As well, we have the two-factor email confirmation, and we have the two-factor reminder notice. All these are fine, so we're just going to leave them as they are. All right, so now let's move on to the advanced settings. And this has some interesting um, settings that we are going to check out. All right, so first we have the system tweak settings. So make sure all these are ticked for the best security level. We're going to make sure that they're ticked and they are all fine as they are. And WordPress tweak settings. All right, so here, if you are not a developer as well and you don't know what you're doing with this, you want to choose on, you want to select disable XML RPC. All right, so let's disable this. And for the REST API, let's select restrict access. All right, so click on restricted access. And for this login email, so um, you can choose your login method type. So if you want to use email address for your login, you can as well choose email address only. If you want to use your username only, you can as well choose your username. So we're going to leave it as email address and username. So you're going to be required to enter either your email address or your username when you're logging into the back end of your website. All right, so this is fine. And let us scroll down. And here is a very interesting settings that we should check out, which I spoke about in the intro. So hide backend. So I'm going to take this, and what this does is that you can basically hide the login slug of your WordPress website. Now, by default, when you're logging into your WordPress website, everyone goes to wp/admin, and this actually makes it easy for hackers to get access to even try to log into your website. Now, imagine if you are able to change this, and which means they would have to be able to guess your login slug, which is almost impossible. So this actually adds an extra layer of security to your WordPress website. So now I can say key to slash my castle. All right. So now I have automatically changed the login slug for my for my WordPress website. So what this means is that if I want to log into the backend of my website, wp/admin would no longer work for me, and it has to be this right here, key to my castle, and this actually adds an extra layer of security to your website. So people have no access to the backend of your website, and they can't even guess your password if they don't have access to the back end of your website to log in. All right, so that's that, and this is a very important feature you might want to use. All right, so we're going to leave it this way, and redirection. So here's the message you might want to send to people who try to log into the back end of your website with the wp/admin. I'm just going to leave it as not found. If you like, you can tell them no way you're hacking my website. Just put in whatever information you might want to put here, but I'm fine with these. And let us click on save. All right, so now the settings is saved. All right, so moving on, let us head over to the security tab and we want to select tools, and there are some settings I want us to enable. All right, so right here it says identify server's IP. So you want to click on run, and this has been run. Ignore the error message right here. And for the rest, we're just going to leave them as they are and change WordPress sorts. Now, if you think someone is currently logged into your website and you want to log everyone out of your website, you want to click on run, and this will automatically log everyone out of your website, and even you would have to relog into your website. So I'm going to leave this as it is because I don't think anyone is currently logged into my website. So, but if you think so for yourself, if your website has been hacked, please click on run. And for the security check pro, let's click on run. All right, so we are fine with that. It says your site does not support SSL, and sometimes you might have to log in again and also click on this run for it to be successful. But we are fine. We're basically fine with the way it is. And now let's move on to the next step, which is authenticating, two-factor authentication rather. So we're going to enable two-factor authentication, which is a very important feature for you to secure your WordPress websites. And to do that, we're going to head over to users right here, and you want to head over to profile. All right, so scroll down when you are on profile, and right here you can see we have the two-factor authentication by Solid Security. So you want to click on enable, and it says set up two-factor authentication. So I'm going to click on continue. And now we have the methods that we can choose. We have the mobile app, we have the email option, and we have the backup codes. So first, we're going to set up the mobile app, and I'm going to select this. And if you're using an iOS, if you're using an Android, you have the option of choosing. In my case, I'm using an Android phone, and I'm going to select Android. All right, so now you want to bring out your phone and you are going to scan this QR code. All right, so if you're using an Android phone, just like in my case, you want to head over to your phone, mobile phone, and go to Play Store. Then you are going to search for the Authenticator app. Now, there are different kinds of Authenticator app, but in my case, I'm going to be using the Microsoft Authenticator. Well, we also have the Google Authenticator, but if you like, you can go ahead. But I'm just going to use the Microsoft Authenticator. So right here is the app. I'm going to click on it, and you want to select open. If you haven't installed it, get it installed. So I'm going to select open. And right here on the screen, you see we have the option for iOS and Android. Now I'm using an Android phone, so I'm going to select Android. And then on my mobile phone here, I'm going to select this icon to the right of the screen, which is an icon to scan the QR code. So I'm just going to click on it and I'm going to scan the QR code. And now it is scanned. You can see there's a list added to it, which has the name of my website. And right on the screen here, I'm going to click on continue. And over here, they are asking for a code, which we have to put in here. So to get this code, you go to the app, and where the name of your website shows up, just click on it. And over here, you can see the code that you need to put in right here. So I'm going to type in this code here, 265461. And you want to click on verify. And now you can see we have the two-factor authentication enabled for the mobile phone. So next time you want to log in, you just have to go to your Microsoft Authenticator app and use the code that will be provided for you right there. And for the email, I'm also going to enable it, and I'm going to omit this. We don't need it, so I'm going to click on continue. And now it says the two-factor setup has been completed. So we are done with the two-factor authentication. I'm going to click on complete. And now I'm going to log myself out, and let's see all the settings we have set up to make sure that this everything actually works out. So I'm going to click on logout. And now let's open an incognito tab. Remember, we have changed the login slug. So let's see if that actually works. So I'm going to open an incognito tab, and I'm going to enter my address. Now let's try logging in with the w/admin and see what happens. And now you can see it says, oops, that page was not found, and it says not found right here. And that is because we have changed it from the wp/admin login slug. So nobody can get to the back end of your website, not to even talk of guessing your passwords anymore. So now let us put in the login slug that we have just updated, which is key to my castle. And I'm going to click on enter. And now you can see we are automatically at the back end of my website. So I'm just going to type in my password, and now let's see what happens. So I'm going to click on login. And now guys, you can see it is asking for the authentication code. So now you just have to go to your authenticator app and put in all the 6-digit codes that are right there. And that is how you have your two-factor authentication enabled for your WordPress website. All right, so guys, that's been it. That is how you can safely secure your WordPress website and not find yourself in a situation which I actually found myself. Now remember, your website doesn't have to be hacked before you put all these security measures in place. It is always important to secure your WordPress website as soon as they are created for security purpose. I hope this video has been pretty much helpful. If it has, please like this video and subscribe to the channel for interesting tips and hacks like this one in the future. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Hello people, it's your boy Kayode. So several of my clients' websites were actually hacked few weeks ago.
No.